Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have no offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys. Evening, everybody. I hope you've had a wonderful bank holiday weekend, bank holiday Monday. If I'm looking a little bit sunburnt, it's because I've had a very sunny, sandy, salty day at the beach with the family. Some of you may have seen my 100% mortgage video I did from inside the tent holding the baby Daphne on the beach, which was fun. I just wanted to get that out of my head. And also this evening, the Help to Buy thing. I've got a really full packed week this week, and I wanted to get something out there now because I've had so many people asking me, Help to Buy coming back? What? So I'm just going to remind everyone about my t-shirt, which, by the way, hardly anyone's bought one of these t-shirts because someone said to me, Charlie, nobody wants to wear a t-shirt with a picture of a fart on it. Fair enough. Each to their own. But that's what guff is, guys. Anyway. How are you all? I hope you're well. Also, one more thing. Tomorrow night, another reason I couldn't do this tomorrow is because tomorrow night I've got the live stream Q&A with two mortgage brokers, the guys that I work with, the guys who I refer you guys to if you want a mortgage or want to talk to independent whole of market mortgage brokers. They will both be on Moving Home with Charlie tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. live. So come along and bring your questions because they are qualified mortgage advisors and I am not. And if you are a member of the Buy Me a Coffee private buyers live Q&A group, send me your question and your questions will definitely get put to the mortgage guys on tomorrow's live stream. So if you send me those before the live stream, I'll make sure I've got them down, and as members of that group, you will get your questions put to the mortgage guys. Send me that on buymeacoffee.com if you want, or anywhere else. Just say that you're a member of that group and I'll make sure your question goes in. Right. Good evening, Homegrown Garden. Hello, that's a new name. Cosima, Sean Watts, that's a new name. Hi, guys. Darren from Suffolk, 3-Player Politics, Jimmy Davis, Nick Woodward, Barry Brown, Neil, Valentine D. Who else? We've got Woolly Bandit, Visual Ghoul, Kezia Noble. Hi, Kezia. Norlis. Right. Let's get on with it. So, in today's Times, there is an article saying Sunak puts Help to Buy back on the table. Now, I'm going to just whiz through this article with you quickly to see what it actually means. Is it definitely happening? When is it happening? And what does it mean if it is happening? But I will start with this. This article doesn't cite a single named source. It's very vague. It's got no details. It's a source at Downing Street says that there are discussions happening. It's the most non-committal, what feels like to me a rushed out press release in response to Keir Starmer's announcement about housing. Now, those of you who follow me on Twitter, and if you don't, please do, moving_Charlie. You'll find me on Twitter, moving_Charlie. Will know I've got that pinned tweet with that awful meme about the guy holding his girlfriend's hand, looking back at the other girls walk past, and housing versus the economy and the voters in the middle. Because I've said all along that I think that housing should be the issue upon which the next election is decided. I like to think, I don't know, but I love to think that the 65,000 views that tweet's had now, and I have a lot of journalists following me, might just have crept its way into the minds of people whose job it is to worry about these things and gone, actually, housing, maybe housing is a thing. But I'm incredibly disappointed I also put a tweet out this morning with a picture of this article and a picture of another article talking about Keir Starmer, because Tories are talking about Help to Buy and Labour are talking about a mortgage guarantee scheme. And a lot of people have quite rightly gone, oh God, that's just going to kick the can down the road and keep propping things up for a long time. And I don't disagree that it is neither of those things are helpful to anyone but political parties trying to win an election. Keir Starmer talks about they're going to build hundreds of thousands of council houses, but then there's no detail about how, where, when, how it'll be funded, or any details whatsoever. It's just one of those vague, we're going to do that, with no detail behind it yet. I hope to see some, because I actually think that if either party were to come out and say, we are going to have a bonfire of the regulations that stop us doing this, and we are going to build council homes where they are needed as a matter of urgency, because there are quite literally hundreds of thousands of people in temporary accommodation or homeless or living in totally substandard crowded accommodation. And yes, I know that there's plenty of space and capacity in total in the country, but unfortunately 70% of the country's houses are underoccupied. There's nothing we can do about that. That's just the way it is. So anything short of emergency council house building, quality homes for people who need them and for key workers who can't afford to live in the area that they work, etc., in my mind is just political guff. Oh, we're going to pump it up some more. We're going to help first-time buyers. It doesn't actually solve the bigger housing problem. And I find it genuinely frustrating and surprising that neither party has come out and said, there's a bigger problem here that we have to fix. Housing has become unaffordable. That's the problem that needs to be fixed. Because just providing guarantees for mortgages doesn't solve the affordability problem for housing. And certainly neither does Help to Buy. So, but as everybody knows, our GDP figures, which 16% of which is made up from the housing market, which is a massive chunk, our GDP and therefore our economy figures are heavily reliant on house prices and rents and imputed rents and all that kind of stuff. And at the moment, the economy is on this knife edge. Well, we're not technically in a recession, but we kind of are. But we're not technically in a recession, and we're going to dodge it. And the forecast, it's not going to be as bad as we thought. Meanwhile, everyone's disposable income continues to just vaporize like a fart in the wind. So anyway, let's go on to this Help to Buy, as it's up on the screen. I want to run through this with you guys quickly. Okay, what has actually been reported? So this is in the Times today, Monday the 1st of May. Rishi Sunak is drawing up plans. Let's just take a moment to absorb the wording. Rishi Sunak is drawing up plans to boost support for first-time home buyers. Now, this is stated as fact. Okay, officials in Downing Street and the Treasury are looking at proposals to help thousands of renters who've been unable to get on the housing ladder in the face of high prices and rising interest rates. Looking at proposals. Okay. Well, is he drawing up plans or is he looking at proposals? The move was discussed before the spring budget, but was not taken forward amid fears that it would prove inflationary. No. They thought, let's not fire our bolt too soon while we're still really unpopular. Let's wait until all of the furor from the mini budget and everything else and fiasco of changing leaders twice and has died down, and which it has, hasn't it? And then let's start to dangle this stuff as and when it becomes relevant to talk about elections. Guess what? There are council elections this week. Must be a coincidence. 3 government sources. How about that? Not 2, not 4. 3 government sources said, I mean, to me, I find this sentence suspect. 3 different sources said exactly the same thing with quotes. 3 government sources said a new buyer support scheme was back on the table and could form part of Jeremy Hunt's autumn statement. We cannot, so again, We cannot go into the next election without an offer for first-time buyers. Why can't they name him? It's a minister. Why can't they say that? We all know that homeowners are more likely to vote Conservative, and we cannot cede this ground to Labour. Labour pledged more support for first-time buyers yesterday and announced plans to revive targets to ensure. Okay, and housing targets on the private sector, merely imposing targets. How well has that worked so far? Hasn't. Keir Starmer said he wanted to make the Labour Party the party of home ownership. That's like saying he wants to make the Labour Party the Tory party. And that the dream for too many people had been killed by the Prime Minister. No, it wasn't the Prime Minister killed. He hasn't been around long enough. I mean, the Prime Minister, Sunak, has not been long enough for the effect of rising interest rates to actually feed through the housing market. So, who'd given in to Tory MPs for scrapping management, blah, 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 blah. Right. New figures all showed, yes, we saw about that. Proposal being examined in government include resurrecting Help to Buy. Okay. One source, I wonder if this is one of the three sources or if it's a different source, suggested this could be extended to cover not only new build properties, but all homes after critics accuse developers of using. Right. I'm not going to go much longer because it is. I hope you can see why, to me, this article feels like PR guff. But anyway, let's just take it at face value and look at it. One government source, another government source, said the proposals were being examined by the Downing Street Policy Unit. And were likely to form part of either the autumn statement or the budget next spring. I want to stop right here. So what they're saying is the proposals might form part of possibly the autumn or the spring statement of the budget. Okay, so not definitely, but might do. And I think this is, again, they're testing the water to see what the reaction is to this announcement or the budget next spring. Now, okay, the way Help to Buy works, the way it worked last time, who knows? There's no details on a new scheme of how it would work. The way it worked last time was that the government, you only have to have a 5% deposit. The government would lend you 20% of the value of the property you're buying if it was under, I think, £600,000, I think was the limit. It would lend you 40% if you were buying a place in London. The government would, so top up your deposit, so to speak, so that your mortgage would only have to be either 75% or even 55% in the case of London. But as the buyer, you would have a loan, which you would eventually have to repay to the government. And there's a link about how much it goes. If you sell, you have to pay it back to the government, etc. Now, the last time Help to Buy was brought in was, I think, 2013. And who knows what interest rates were in 2013? That's right, they were 0.5%. And who knows what interest rates are now? This is base rates. That's right, they're 4.25%. So they are more than 8 times higher today than they were when they bought it back last time, okay? So I think that means that the terms of a new Help to Buy will be very, very different if interest rates are high, because they aren't coming back down 0.5% anytime soon, are they? And I suspect, given that 2024 is likely to be the election year, that they for sure, I've always expected them to make some kind of housing market announcement before the next election, because why wouldn't they? It'd be daft not to. But it'll be, I think they'll dangle it as a carrot. If you vote us back in, then we'll bring back Help to Buy. And of course, for an individual, there are some individuals for whom Help to Buy is the difference between owning a home and not. So at an individual level, Help to Buy can be great. It can be disastrous. There are some people, including people who've contacted me saying, we bought with Help to Buy last year and we've realized what a massive mistake we made and now we can't sell and now we're negative equity and it's a nightmare. What do we do? So Help to Buy is not necessarily good for everybody, okay? If you're buying a forever home, keeping it forever, and you're sure you can afford it, etc., and you're not planning to move within 2 or 5 years, then maybe. But if you're thinking of getting in and out within 5 years, Help to Buy is uber risky, all right? Now, sorry, there's me rattling away at the camera. My head's very much in holiday mode. So What do we think, guys? What does everyone else think? Kezia Noble says people need to hold the line and just refuse to stretch themselves. I agree, Kezia. I think that on a national basis, Help to Buy is one of the things that has inflated house prices massively. Lots of political comments here as well. Yeah, that's true. Norlis says developers won't be happy if Help to Buy were extended to non-new build homes. Now, sorry, Kezia, I disagree with you. You've been very vocal in the comments here. The government will not permit a correction in the housing market. This is a comment I hear a lot, and it makes it sound like you think that they've just got a magic wand and that they can control house prices. Yes, Tories are the party of homeowners, and their voters are mostly homeowners, and therefore they will cater to their voters. So yes, the Tories have a vested interest in house prices not falling. And yes, they will do things like this to try to prop it up. But it doesn't mean that they can. And statements like this, the government will not permit, like they're actually going to say, no, we're not going to allow house prices to fall. Okay, sorry, it's illegal. You cannot sell your house for less than you did in 2021, we're going to say. That's what that statement sounds like, Kezia, and it doesn't make sense, right? They don't control house prices. The market, they influence it, the Bank of England influences it, interest rates influence it, wage growth influences it, all these things, right? But every transaction is freely entered into by two parties, right? A buyer and a seller, every single transaction. Nobody holds a gun to the heads of either of those two people. And the price that those people agreed is agreed between them. The government doesn't decide the price, right? If someone wants to sell their house cheap, they'll sell it cheap if they need to and want to, right? If somebody wants to overpay for property because they want to pay in certain, then they'll do so. So for Kezia and anyone else who said this, the government won't allow it, they may well try to stop it falling, but they can't, right? They simply cannot do it. It's mathematical gravity. When wage growth is negative or when wages are shrinking, house prices come down. Help to Buy will not improve wage growth, right? If the economy is stuffed, the economy is stuffed. And wage growth is not going to become positive anytime soon while inflation remains high, right? I mean, today, Royal College of Nurses, they're offering them 5% pay rise. Hang on, isn't inflation 10%? Are you offering us a real terms pay cut of 5%? You know, whatever you might think about that, the point is that the government is allowing wages to shrink. In fact, the government is making sure wages don't go up too fast. And by doing so, they're almost ensuring that house prices cannot go back up. They may not realize that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Who else do we have here? NC. Help to Buy is dangerous. Stay away from it. You get a mortgage and a loan. You're paying interest on both. That's true. Yeah, they can't just stop prices. I mean, like, if they could stop prices before, they would have stopped it last time, wouldn't they? And the time before that, but they didn't. So I don't understand why people think that the government has the power to stop it happening. They just don't. And all the data from the past confirms that. So, chaps, do we have anyone's got any questions for me on this topic? I'm just having a quick skim through to see if I've missed any questions. I'm sorry. Italic Bus says, can you explain why higher interest rates affect the likelihood of Help to Buy coming back, please? I don't think they do. I'm not saying that higher interest rates mean that it will or it won't come back. What I mean is, if it comes back, the interest rates on the borrowing, both the mortgage and the government loan, are going to be much higher. And therefore, the amounts that people can borrow will be lower, and it won't put house prices back up. I mean, will it have an effect of more people being able to buy? Potentially, but at lower prices. It's not going to stop house prices falling. That's the point I'm trying to make. Chloe S. Hi, I don't know who you are, but you're talking to Jimmy Davis. You're saying you're a first-time buyer and you won't be getting help from mum and dad as they can't afford it. It's all down to you and your partner saving your asses off for years. It is true. It is possible. But it's a life choice, isn't it? Because saving your asses off for years means compromising on all kinds of nice things that you otherwise might have decided to do. Michelle asks, will Help to Buy be for new build only? Well, we don't know what they're going to do. Last time Help to Buy was, yes, definitely only for new builds. So it was the government helping the new build industry build more houses, basically. But who knows? Who knows what they'll do next time? I mean, who knows how desperate they're going to be? Yes, Help to Buy Andrew Howard is for first-time buyers only, or again, it was. They might change that. Who knows? Emma Anderson says, doesn't matter. Compared to rents, people will go for it. I don't necessarily agree with that, because if you're renting somewhere and you can't afford it, then you just move out and stop paying rent. And that's it. You walk away scot-free. If you buy a property with a Help to Buy guarantee or Help to Buy scheme and mortgage, and you can't afford it and you have to walk away and sell it and it's gone down in value, you walk away with the debt for the difference around your neck. So there is a risk of getting on that ladder at the wrong time, a very serious risk. Don't you think they will bail out the lenders, which is the main thing? It will ask them to increase their risk so they can keep the bubble inflated. Well, that's what Labour are suggesting they're going to do. If Labour are offering a mortgage guarantee, that actually is an indirect support of the banks. It's a bailout of the banks in case people fail default on their mortgages, isn't it? And it's not actually a bailout, but like indirectly it kind of is. Aaron Hughes says, hi, Charlie. What are your views on where rent prices are going in the next 12 months? How will this impact on house prices? So it's quite interesting. Rightmove's own rent index that was out last week showed that in Q4 of 2022, so the last quarter of last year, rents went up 5.8%. Asking rents went up 5.8% in a quarter. That's massive, right? But in Q1 of this year, they only went up 0.8 or 0.9%. So that the really sharp rises in rents, in the asking prices at least, are definitely slowing right down. If I just vaguely heard as I was waking up this morning on the radio, news about how many thousands of hospitality businesses have gone out of business in the last year, which is going to get worse. Especially now that the energy help for businesses has been taken away. So they're expecting hundreds of thousands of small businesses to fail. So if the economy continues to worsen for householders, right, then I think that will. I do think we'll see rents start to come down. Not yet, not for a little while, not in all areas either. But I do think that the rent squeeze will ease. Sorry, didn't mean for that to rhyme. I do think the rent squeeze will ease. I think it will get better on the back of a falling economy. That's what I think. I don't think they're going to start falling anytime immediately, but I think by this time, by Q1 next year, they could well be starting to just gently come down. No crash. I'm not saying there's going to be any sharp house price fall, rent. I'm not saying there's going to be a sharp fall in rents. I do think they're going to stop going up. I think they're going to start coming down slightly in some places. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to wrap this up within 5 minutes, if any of you have other good questions. Thomas McCann. I've managed to have an offer accepted on a house at home report value. That means you're in Scotland. I'm very happy about it, and you gave me the confidence to stick to my guns, Charlie. Thanks. You are welcome. Thank you for telling me about that. That's brilliant news. I had someone actually message me on Twitter saying that they just had an offer of 20% below asking price accepted on a property for doing the same thing, sticking to their guns. They were the only offer and they got it. Kezia asks, if we're in a cost of living crisis, how come so many people can afford such high rents? It's a weird one. Well, they're having to give up on going out, eating and spending on holidays and stuff. And that's why so many hospitality businesses are going out of business, because people will pay their rent before they splash out on days out, meals out, that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, the landlords, the cost of rent is one of the things actually hurting the economy so much. And you know, of course, there are some people who can afford their rents, but there are other people who can't. Emma, hang on a second. You're spreading a question out, and I don't know what the question is. You've just said Charlie somewhere. Yes, Emma. Does this change your prediction at all? If you're asking whether this news of Tories perhaps bringing back Help to Buy, does that change my views on house prices at all? Nope, it doesn't. It doesn't change my prediction at all. I think some of you were probably on the call on this live stream last time I had Alex Housing Stig on here, and I asked him, is there anything that could stop these house prices falling that you think? And he said, no, nothing, including these kinds of interventions. Next time he's available, I'll get him back on and we'll discuss exactly why. Oh, Frankie, that's a very good question. Does my prediction of the market bottoming out in 2025 refer to reported prices or the actual market? Very good question. The actual market, because reported prices take so long to come through. So long to come through. Which reminds me of another point, but I won't get into that now. So yeah, does that answer your question? I hope it does. Jimmy has got a question. If we can see sales agreed today are comparable to 2019 and we know people are getting 40-year terms, why would we expect falls? We can't. Sales agreed today comparable to 2019 is only in volumes, right? Transaction volumes. I don't understand why, because you're not making any reference to the fact that the cost of borrowing money has shot up massively, which is one reason it will come down, which is also eating people's wage growth. Why would we expect falls? Jimmy, I know you're a regular on these live streams, so you've heard us say this every time, right? It is wages that correlate stronger with house prices than anything else. So neither anything compared to 2019, when interest rates were rock bottom, or 40-year terms are changing the fact that wages are shrinking. And that's why house prices are going to come down. If there's anything unclear about that, let me know. Or if you think that, if you disagree about Housing Stig's correlation over the last 27 years, I think it is, between wage growth or shrinkage and house prices, let me know. Aaron Hughes says, Charlie, will we see cheaper properties, flats, studios, apartments increase in value in the same way cheap supermarkets do well in recession for affordability? That's a good question, Aaron. Yeah, that is. So I don't know whether we're going to see them increase or decrease in value because it's regional and it varies regionally. But what you are already seeing is more support for lower price properties because of downsizers. I hear all the time from the agents that I'm talking to, downsizers. And, you know, there are a lot of people who would have bought bigger but now can't, and so they're buying smaller. So the demand for the higher priced stuff is now, their budget's been reduced by borrowing. So yeah, there is naturally going to be a slightly high level of demand for the cheaper price stuff, but not necessarily enough to keep the prices up, which is why there's still plenty of news of prices at the lower end of the market also falling. You're welcome, Frankie. Yes, still by 35%, Emma. Right. I'm wrapping it up. Guys, thank you. That was just a quick end of bank holiday live stream. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for following me. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter, moving_Charlie. And if you are a buyer out there, remember that if you're going to go and offer, always offer with a mortgage in principle ready. If you haven't got one, talk to my mortgage brokers. It's on the screen down there. There we are. mhwc.co.uk/mortgage, and I'll put you in touch with my hand-picked whole of market mortgage brokers who will be on Moving Home with Charlie live 7:30 p.m. Tuesday 2nd of May, tomorrow evening, to take your questions. So thanks guys, have a lovely evening. I will see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye guys.